Welcome to Secrets Unlocked. If you enjoy intimate confessions and forbidden stories, check the private archive linked in the description. Subscribe, settle in, and enjoy the story. And so that's all there is to it, Mr. Cooper. It's all completely free. For now, anyway. The young man smiled, his blonde hair stringy, unwashed. Pimples dotted his cheeks, and he continually pushed his silver, wire-rimmed glasses up the bridge of his nose. Mike doubted the guy could have been more than 20. So this was John Chamberlain, inventor extraordinaire. He wasn't impressed. "How did you come to learn about my, services anyway, Mr. Cooper?" Chamberlain went on. Mike swallowed, said, "My friend told me about it. Roy, you probably remember him. Well, he said you created the most amazing thing he ever saw. He said the only reason you haven't gone public with it yet is because you needed to test it out more. I guess that means you're looking for a few guinea pigs." Chamberlain laughed, a high-pitched sound that reminded Mike of a skittish squirrel scolding a passerby. "That's as apt a manner to put it as any other. I can't market this software until I know it works absolutely. And I also need to make sure it's safe. There may be risks involved." "Risks?" "Sit down, Mr. Cooper." Chamberlain motioned toward a cheap-looking swivel chair. Mike sat in it. He might as well get comfortable since he'd probably be here for a while. He had to admit, this wasn't exactly the way he pictured the lair of a would-be wizard inventor. Chamberlain's small apartment had few furnishings. Piles of unwashed clothes littered the floor. The remains of a leftover frozen pizza were strewn on the kitchen counter, and the overhead light didn't work. They sat in lamplight, which Mike supposed was for the best anyway. He didn't exactly want to see Chamberlain's acne-covered face any clearer than he had to. Suddenly there was a shout coming from above. A woman's voice, screaming at someone to go to hell. "Don't mind the Hansons," Chamberlain said. "They fight every night. This is nothing. They're just getting started." A man's voice, hoarse, sounding liquored up, yelled back, telling the unseen woman to leave him alone. "Charming," Mike said. "He doesn't physically abuse her, does he?" Chamberlain snorted. "Hell no, all they do is yell. It's harmless shit. Kind of distracting when I first moved in here. But you adjust, you get used to stuff." Mike shrugged, nodded. He hoped he'd get used to the Hansons in a hurry. If he didn't, they'd ruin the whole thing. He wanted to get the most out of this invention he had heard so much about. Roy had been his friend for 10 years. He wasn't the sort of guy to exaggerate, so when he told Mike that he had to get his ass over John Chamberlain's and try out his new application, well, he was very intrigued. And from what Roy had said, the more you could concentrate, the more you could lose yourself in the virtual game, the better the experience would be. "Your friend was right about that," Chamberlain said. "It's the kind of thing where you get out of it what you put into it." From upstairs, Mike heard the argument continue as the couple traded insults, questioning each other's fidelity. Chamberlain shook his head. "They do this every night. Don't know why he acts so flabbergasted at this point. He should be used to it by now." Mike couldn't care less about their marital problems. He was confident in his own abilities to attract and seduce women, and that was one of the reasons he wanted to try this whole invention thing out. "Anyway," Chamberlain went on, "the application is completely unpredictable. No results are predetermined. So the more you allow yourself to experience what it has to offer, the more mental energy you exert, the better your chances will be. After all, I'm well aware why you're here. It's the same reason millions of guys will want to purchase my baby once it's ready for the market. To have the opportunity to meet any fictional female creation is too good to pass up." "Yeah, see, that's the thing, though," Mike said. "Having a chance to meet any fictional character. How is that possible? I mean, how can your application know every fictional female character?" Chamberlain smiled. Upstairs, the Hansons continued with their war of words. Now Mr. Hanson was calling his wife fat. Okay, perhaps I am guilty of hyperbole. Let me rephrase. My application has every female creation of any repute. Obscure creations aren't included. Some of them will be in time as I expand the database. But for now, I think you will find that your choices are expansive enough. There are over 2,000 female characters to choose from. And as I mentioned, that number grows by the day. Mike let out a breath, glanced at the remains of Chamberlain's frozen pizza on his kitchen counter. The apartment was so small, nearly every square foot of it could be scanned from where he sat. Well, I don't need to look at your list. I know who I want. You do have June Cleaver available, I hope. Chamberlain let out a hearty laugh. Naturally. How could I not? I wouldn't mind taking a crack at her myself when I have the chance. You mean you haven't even tried your own invention out for yourself? I can't. What if something goes wrong? What if I get stranded? I can't chance it until I know all risks have been eliminated. Mike didn't like the sound of that. It was the second time Chamberlain had used the word risks. What risks was he referring to? Well, consider, Chamberlain said, again thumbing his wire-rimmed glasses up the bridge of his nose. I fed my database with as much pertinent information as humanly possible. I've spent much time researching for this project, Mr. Cooper. Every day, 15 hours a day for 3 years. Family life. What's a family? I am a devoted practitioner of my craft. Based on his unwashed hair, zits, crappy apartment, Mike didn't doubt it. This guy obviously was the obsessive type. That said, I want my application to be a free-flowing system. That is, I can feed it everything I possibly can about all of the fictional characters I include. But in the end, the application, not me, will decide what happens. Mike didn't understand, and it seemed that Chamberlain read the confusion on his face. Put another way, the inventor said, I can create June Cleaver, but I cannot know what she will do once a scenario plays out. The application knows her based on the data I feed it, but then it freely chooses to do what it will with said data based on the situation she is placed in. So, let's say you use my application, Meet June Cleaver. I have no idea what will happen, Mr. Cooper. Perhaps she'll welcome you. Perhaps she'll accept your advances. Or perhaps she'll slam the door in your face, call the police, or worse. He paused for dramatic effect. Call Ward. Mike laughed. You didn't want an angry Ward Cleaver coming after your hide, but that also brought up an interesting point. You said you created just female characters, though, Mike said. If that's the case, then how can Ward even be anywhere in your application? You have a quick mind, Mr. Cooper, Chamberlain said. I like that. Upstairs, the Hansons continued their loud argument, their shouting matching the volume of the nights before. Think of my application as a world unto itself, like a dream world or, in this case, a virtual world. The application knows everything June Cleaver knows. Therefore, it creates the people she knows. If you knock on her door, make a pass at her, she certainly will be able to call old Ward to the rescue, and he certainly might show up. Her entire world, everything she knows and feels and dreams and fears and aspires to, is included in my application. Mike had to admit it sounded awfully impressive. Still, what about the risks? Chamberlain hadn't really answered that. Chamberlain sat back in his chair, putting his fingertips together, forming a hand tent. Well, Mr. Cooper, as I said, once you enter into my application, it becomes a world unto itself. Anything can happen. And even though it isn't real, per se, it will seem real to you. You will honestly believe you are there with June Cleaver. So, for example, if Ward comes around and decides to gun you down with a rifle, you will die in the application, correct? Mike nodded. Yeah, a rifle shot from Ward would likely do him in. But the application will feel so real to you, Mr. Cooper, just as if you were really living it. Or, in the scenario just mentioned, as if you were really dying. And because of that, I can't be sure what the risks are. It might prove too much for you. It is not inconceivable that your heart will cease beating. You will believe in your mind that you are dead. Every fiber of your being will believe that, Mr. Cooper. And so I am not sure what will happen. It is entirely possible that your virtual death might carry over to your actual death. And that is why, if you wish to proceed, I must have you sign this release form. He reached into his pocket, took out a folded slip of paper. I don't mean to be overly dramatic, Mr. Cooper. I just need to protect myself. You know, just in case. Mike swallowed. Was it possible? Could he really be putting himself in potential harm's way simply by virtually trying to meet June Cleaver? He took the slip of paper, unfolded it, read it. It was simple and to the point. He thought about getting up and getting the hell out of there. But Roy had gone in, tested the application, met Kelly Bundy. He'd said that was easy. Kelly was more than ready to spend time with him. And besides, where else could he ever try out anything like this? No way would Ward barge in on him and June with a shotgun. Even if he did, he just couldn't believe he was putting himself, his real self, in any danger. It was a risk worth taking, especially now, while Chamberlain was still just field testing his application. After all, it was free. He signed the document, handed it back. Chamberlain smiled. "You're adventurous, Mr. Cooper. I like that. Now, is there anything else you'd like to know before you get started?" Just, why did you create only fictional characters? Why June Cleaver and not Barbara Billingsley? Ah, I thought you might ask that. Your friend, Roy, was it? He didn't ask me anything. He just wanted in. Mike smiled. Good old Roy. You see, again, my application is very real, Mr. Cooper. You'll see what I mean when you enter. I didn't want to use real people because who knows what kinds of consequences might ensue. If you, for instance, were to meet Barbara Billingsley in my virtual world, you might come away truly believing you had met her. That could have implications neither of us would foresee. So it is better, wiser, to deal with fantasy. In this case, Barbara Billingsley will not exist, just as Christina Applegate did not exist for your friend Roy. Only Kelly Bundy did. When you meet June Cleaver, she will think of herself as June Cleaver, you see. She will be June Cleaver, completely. She will not have any concept of who Barbara Billingsley is. Any further questions, or are you ready to proceed? Mike thought of June Cleaver. He always believed that underneath, June was a housewife who wanted some excitement in her life. Well, he would visit her. He was more than ready. Chamberlain swiveled his chair, woke up his PC, and opened the application. He clicked on a few icons, and then asked Mike to take the driver's seat. This will feel like something out of a 1950s grade B sci-fi, Chamberlain said. But I need to connect the application to your brain. Don't worry. You won't feel a thing. He took 2 wires from the PC, attached them to Mike's temples, one on either side. They had something like a suction cup on the end and they stuck easily to his head. Chamberlain had been right. This did feel like a 50s sci-fi movie. Now what? Mike asked. What do I do? Upstairs, more yelling, but things finally seemed to be quieting down. Nothing, Mr. Cooper. The application will do everything for you. All you need to do is concentrate, participate actively in the scene you're about to enter. Think of June Cleaver home alone in her nice suburban home. That's where you're headed, Mr. Cooper. You need to think of what to say, how to talk to her, just as you would if this were real. And now, close your eyes, concentrate. I will just need to do one more thing. There. Good luck, Mr. Cooper. This test will proceed for 2 hours. Make the most of them. Mike heard a faint click and then he felt as though he were floating away, becoming disembodied. Everything went black. And then sunlight filtered into his field of vision. He could feel its warmth. He could feel his feet moving. He looked down. He was walking. He was in a new housing development. Mayfield, that's right. He was here to meet June Cleaver. For now, he needed to get his bearings, orient himself, which was her house. Somehow he just knew. He approached a spotless white cape with a spotless white picket fence. 485 Mapleton Drive. Yes, something about the address sounded familiar. This was the one, all right. He realized, too, that his senses needed time to adjust. He was accustomed to seeing Beaver's world in black and white, but here now everything was three-dimensional and in color. And as each minute passed, he felt less like he was in a virtual place and more like he was in reality, period. It was weird, and yet he felt as if this were actually happening. He needed to think, though. He couldn't just knock on June Cleaver's door and barge in. He had to come up with an angle. Maybe he could be a salesman. No, that wouldn't swim. He had nothing to sell, nothing to peddle, but maybe that wasn't true. What about something like air conditioning? Did the Cleavers have it? He couldn't recall, but he doubted it. If this was circa 1957 he was now a part of, air conditioning wouldn't have been so prevalent yet. And based on the looks of the house, the Cleavers sure had money to spare. Why sweat in the summer? Make your life easier with a little AC. He liked it. It should at least get him in the door anyway. He arrived on the front step. He took a breath. This was unbelievable. He was about to ring the bell and June Cleaver herself in living color would be the woman to greet him. Without pausing to think, without allowing himself a chance to chicken out, he pressed the doorbell. Within seconds the door opened and there she was. A smile on her face, her short hair perfectly in place, conservative earrings, beaded necklace, and wearing a pastel dress knee-length, with the sleeves reaching down to her elbows. The very picture of the prim and proper housewife of the 1950s. "Hello," she said, still smiling. He could smell a hint of perfume on her, not much. "What can I do for you?" "Hello, ma'am. Have you heard of the Prescott Air Conditioning Company?" he asked. Prescott. Where had he come up with that? He nearly laughed, which would have wrecked everything. Her smile faded and the door closed just a little. "Why, no, sir, I never have. But if you're here to sell something, maybe if you could come back this evening. My husband is usually home by 5:30, and maybe you and he can." Mike held up a hand. "Ma'am, I promise, this will only take a minute. If you'll just let me tell you a little bit about the product my company provides. I mean, here it is, the middle of May, and it's already such a warm day. I'll bet you get some real scorchers around here in July. Well, why sweat, ma'am? My company can install an air conditioning system that will keep your entire family comfortable." The door closed a little further. Her smile was completely gone now. "Well, that's very nice, sir, but my husband should be the one who decides. Now, if you'll please excuse me." "Think fast, think fast. Well, what would you say if I guaranteed you a free trial? We can install the coolant system completely for free, and you can try it out for free for 90 days. If not completely satisfied, we'll come back and dismantle everything." The door opened up a little. A hint of a smile returned to her wholesome features. "Well, you're right, of course. It does get hot here in summer, and if it's a free trial, you wouldn't actually install anything right now, would you? I still think my husband should make the final decision." Mike smiled. His ploy was working. If he could just get inside the door, that's all that mattered. "Of course, ma'am, we won't do anything until we get his approval, but if I may, I'd just like to look around your home. It'll only take a moment, ma'am. I just want to see where the best place to install the unit would be." She hesitated, but then opened the door wide. "Well, I suppose there's no harm in that." He entered the house, and she closed the door behind him. The stairway that he'd seen Beaver climb 100 times on TV was directly in front of him. And that was good. Better to take her upstairs, where they would be less likely to be disturbed by a chance knock on the door or the telephone ringing. He told her that because upstairs rooms tended to be hotter than downstairs rooms, he would like to check for a place to install the unit upstairs. He just hoped she didn't ask him any questions about the unit. He couldn't even visualize what he was supposed to be selling. She led him up the stairs. He said, eyeing the master bedroom. I think this room looks like the most appropriate location. I hope you're not embarrassed, ma'am, if I go into your bedroom. A blush touched her cheeks. She fiddled with her hair. Of course not, she said. He approached the bed. It was now or never. Tell me, miss. Well, first of all, I would rather not keep calling you miss. If I may be so bold, ma'am, what's your name? June, she said. June Cleaver. He felt a wave of unreality wash over him. June Cleaver, right here. And yet she had no idea what a celebrity she was. In her mind, she was just an average stay-at-home 1950s mom, but in his mind, she was a star. He extended a hand and she shook it, her grip light feminine. Good to meet you, June. My name is Mike Cooper. And now that we've been properly introduced, I do need to ask you, you understand. We need to know our customers very well before we can install the unit. Because each family's needs, each marital couple's needs are unique, depending on their situation. She threw him a puzzled look. What I mean is, and this is kind of embarrassing, but, you see, if you and your husband have a fantastic relationship, then the unit would make even more sense right here in your bedroom. That would just solidify my initial diagnosis of where to place it. So, do you, June? She gasped, blushed again, her hands coming to her cheeks. Mr. Cooper, I'm sorry, but that's none of your business. Maybe you should leave. You know, June, he soldiered on. I also asked because, well, you just have a certain look about you. Her mouth dropped open. What are you talking about? He smiled. Well, you look, how can I say this, needy. You look like a woman whose husband doesn't take care of her. Mr. Cooper, I'll have you know that my ward is the sweetest, kindest. Oh, why am I telling you any of this? Please leave. Mike sat down on the bed. I'm not denying that your husband, Ward, is a great guy or that he doesn't take care of things financially. Looking at all this, he swept his arms around in a wide arc. It's obvious that he's loaded, but that's not the type of taking care of that I'm talking about. When was the last time he made you truly happy, June? When was the last time he made love to you so well you felt completely fulfilled? Mr. Cooper. It appeared to him that she nearly fainted dead on the spot. How dare you? My ward is perfectly satisfactory. She paused, her cheeks the color of wild roses. Just what I thought, Mike said, getting up. He approached the bedroom door, shut and locked it. Perfectly satisfactory. You probably haven't felt a real, powerful connection in years, June. I mean, a perceptive guy can see that just looking at you. You're a woman with a need, and I'm the guy who can fulfill that need. She just stood there, like a deer frozen in the proverbial headlights. He walked up to her, but she darted for the door. He caught her, held her in his arms. Let me go, she said. I'm a married woman, don't you understand? And besides, You're not that type of girl. That's what you were going to say, wasn't it, June? You're not the kind of girl who does this when you first meet someone. No, you're more the hearts and flowers type, right? Feeling the tension build. Thousands of more private stories are waiting in my exclusive archive. The link is in the channel description. Well, you may pretend to be all of that, June, but deep down, underneath your facade, you want some excitement, don't you? You want a man who can treat you like a beautiful, sexy woman for a change instead of a middle-aged housewife. And you are yearning to know what it feels like to really be with a man who knows what he's doing, and who knows what kind of woman you really are, beneath all the phony bullshit. Now you look me in the eye and tell me I'm wrong. This was the moment. He had her by the wrists, he was staring her down, demanding the truth. She met his gaze, looked down. She couldn't deny it. And right then and there he knew. He had her. Yes, she said. I admit it. Ward doesn't. He's just not interested in pleasing me. That way. I have things I'd like to try, but he won't hear of any of them. So I don't even talk to him about any of it anymore. When he wants to make love, I just lie there and then he goes to sleep. The same routine every time, am I right? Mike asked. She nodded. Please go. She was flushed and little beads of sweat dotted her forehead. Get on the bed, June. You know you want me. You can't pretend you don't. And what will it hurt? No one will ever know. And maybe you can feel a little happier for a while. All the work you do around here, you deserve some fun. In that moment, the tension in the room broke, and she finally gave in to her suppressed desires, allowing the encounter to proceed. Remarkably, this seemed to resonate with her. She sat down on the bed. She was shaking, despite the warmth of the day, the stuffiness of the room. All of the windows were closed, which was fine with him. She remained on the bed, looking at him as the reality of the situation began to settle into the room. In that quiet space, all the long-standing expectations of her traditional suburban life seemed to fade away. The hesitation that had defined her for years was replaced by a quiet acceptance of the moment, as she chose to stay and let the encounter unfold. Afterward, as they sat together in the quiet room, the atmosphere was completely changed. June looked down at her wedding ring, a look of profound reflection on her face, acknowledging that a line had been crossed. How was it? Mike asked, looking at her as she composed herself. She smiled. Not bad, Mike, better than I thought you would. This was going to be even better than he'd dared to hope. See what you missed all these years. She blushed. He looked around the room. There was a comfortable-looking armless chair in the corner. Above the chair, hanging on the wall, there was a picture of Ward and June cutting a piece of their wedding cake, years ago. He went to the chair, sat down in it. That other world, the real world, seemed a long way off. This here seemed real to him now. June Cleaver was real, but in his mind he still had a vague sense that he was on the clock. Besides, he didn't even know what time it was here in Mayfield. For all he knew, Wally or the Beeve might come crashing up the stairs at any moment, home from school. Looking at her, he was struck by how attractive she was. He always thought she was cute, but now here, in three-dimensional living color, she was really quite hot, and she had a damn slim figure. He was admiring it through her form-fitting, yet simultaneously wholesome dress. The idea of that, the sexiness of it, caused him to want her even more. Her cheeks flushed red again. It was getting to seem like red was her natural skin tone. Oh, she said, I mean, I enjoyed being with you, Mike, but I didn't think you actually really wanted to. You know you want this. She gasped, obviously not used to hearing such directness, but her arousal was ratcheting up. He could see that clearly. She wanted this. Badly. She looked away, stood up. How often do you think about this, June? Oh, Spare me the theatrics, just answer the question. She was staring a hole through the floor. She nodded. Usually in the morning, after Ward and the kids leave, and then at night I get up after Ward's asleep and I think about things in the bathroom. He whistled. Damn, you are a frustrated housewife, June. Well, no need for that anymore. In that moment, all hesitation vanished. June leaned into the choice she had made, allowing herself to completely experience the excitement she had been denied for so long. The quiet of the bedroom became the backdrop for an encounter that broke every rule of her traditional life, leaving the predictability of Mayfield far behind. Afterward, she sat down facing him. Turn around, he said. Fragm 11 is 13. Obelera beate kratkuite el yerika o etelote fragm ente pel ln oste yeri. Please, Mike, she said, her voice a plea. I need to get cleaned up. Ward will be home soon. Not for another 2 hours, June, Mike said, checked his watch. Wait a minute. He didn't have a watch on, he was completely naked, but he just knew intuitively that he still had plenty of time. Chamberlain had said the test would run for 2 hours, and he felt as if he'd only been here for about 45 minutes. He had time for one more go-round. And this time he wanted to try something different, something June had likely never experienced before. "Get on your hands and knees on the bed, June," he said. She gasped. "Oh, Mike, no, I couldn't. That's how animals do it." "Exactly," Mike said. "And that's exactly how I'm going to fuck you. Now get on the bed." She hesitated, but the compliance was already ingrained. She climbed onto the bed, positioned herself on her hands and knees, her head facing the headboard, her back arched, her rear end up in the air. Her dress was hiked up to her waist, and her bare ass was staring him in the face. It was a beautiful sight. Smooth, white, with just a hint of cellulite on her thighs. It made her look real human, not like some airbrushed model. He approached the bed, stood behind her. He lubricated his dick with some of her vaginal juices, and then guided his head to her entrance. "Are you ready, June?" "Yes," she whispered, her voice trembling. He pushed forward and sank his dick into her from behind. She let out a loud cry, her hands gripping the sheets. "Oh my God," she said. "Oh, Mike, it's so deep, I can feel it in my stomach." "You like it doggy style, June?" "Yes, yes, oh, it's wonderful." He began to pump her, his thrusts powerful, rhythmic. The sound of his flesh slapping against her buttocks filled the room. He reached around, grabbed her hips, and used them to guide his movements, pulling her onto his dick with each thrust. She was loving it, tossing her head from side to side, her hair falling out of its perfect arrangement. "Look at the picture on the wall, June," he said, pointing to the wedding photo above the chair. "Look at you and Ward. Think about how he never treats you like this. Think about how much better this is." She looked at the picture and a sob escaped her lips. "Oh, Ward," she said, "I'm sorry, but it feels so good." That was the final straw. The combination of her guilt and her intense arousal drove her over the edge. She began to climax again, her vaginal walls gripping his dick in tight, spasming waves. Mike felt his own orgasm building, the pressure intense. He didn't want to come inside her, just in case, so he pulled out at the last second and shot his cum all over her bare ass and lower back. She collapsed onto the bed, panting, covered in sweat and semen. Mike lay down beside her, pulling her into his arms. "That was incredible, June," he said. "Yes," she breathed, her eyes closed. "It was." Now he wanted her to stand up. This she did, without a murmur of protest. "Very nice, June," he said. Again she blushed. "Now I'm going to get up." She did as told, not a hint of resistance. "Has Ward ever done anything else?" She shook her head. "Never." She let out a sigh. "Don't take this the wrong way, June, but I think your husband is an idiot. I mean, here he is, with a blonde doll like you for a wife, and he doesn't even take care of your most basic needs. That's pretty pathetic if you ask me." Her body jerked. He nearly squirted right then and there. He had gotten June Cleaver to utter the F-word. He couldn't think of any greater satisfaction. "Oh dear," she said. "Oh dear, oh dear. I hope you were telling me the truth, Mike, about not getting me pregnant." When she stood up, he told her not to worry. He was as fertile as the Arctic in January. Then he kissed her. She returned his kiss. But he knew he should go. He had gotten what he wanted. From this point forward, his presence might only cause trouble. "Well, I need to get going, June. Thanks for a great time. When you think tonight, you think of me here." "Must you leave so soon, Mike?" She put her arms around his neck and kissed him. "I do need to go, for now." She smiled. "Yes, please come back to me. You need to do more checkups for the air conditioner installation anyway, right, Mike?" "Air conditioner? What air conditioner? Oh, right, sure, sure." "Deal." She nodded. He would have loved to stay right now, but he should go. Before he left, he took her bra, a granny-style affair, just what one would expect a woman like June Cleaver would wear. "I want to keep this," he said, "as a souvenir." He put his clothes on, and so did she. They walked downstairs to the front door. She again put her arms around his neck and kissed him. "Do it tonight when he comes home from work. See what he does, okay?" She shrugged. "Well, why not?" He smiled, and before she could kiss him again, he left. Immediately he felt disoriented, as if his brain were being split apart and he was immersed in darkness. Then slowly, light, sound, yelling. A woman's voice telling someone he had a small dick. A man's voice returning her insults with barbs of his own. The humming of a PC. And, "Well, Mr. Cooper, how did it go?" He blinked several times, and that's when John Chamberlain came into focus. The stringy, unwashed hair, the zits, the wire-rimmed glasses. Yes, he had been using Chamberlain's application. That's where he'd been all this time. God, it had felt so real, so real. He felt something in his hands, looked down. A bra, a relic, something right out of the 1950s, but it was impossible. How could it be? And yet, there it was, June Cleaver's bra in his grasp. Even Chamberlain appeared surprised. "My invention seems even more impressive than I'd thought," he said. "The merging of the virtual, the fantasy, with the real seems to be complete. That is encouraging. And troubling. Consequences. Perhaps I am playing with dynamite here, Mr. Cooper." Mike let out a breath. "It was incredible, Chamberlain. I tell you, it was fucking incredible. I was there. I mean, it's like it really happened." He looked at the bra in his hands. "Hell, I guess in a way it did really happen. I met June Cleaver." Chamberlain laughed. "Glad to hear you were successful, Mr. Cooper. Care to visit that well again the next time?" The next time? Did he really want to do this again? If he was able to bring her bra back, then maybe something terrible could happen to him while he was patrolling John Chamberlain's virtual universe. Maybe he could be killed. Still, he was hooked now. Hooked. How could he stop now? He'd had a taste, a small drink. He wanted to gorge himself, feast on every fantasy woman he had ever lusted after. There would be a next time, all right. Many of them. "I will be in the process of testing my application for some time yet," Chamberlain went on. "You can come back and use it free of charge whenever you like, Mr. Cooper. Until I am ready to market it, I welcome your forays into my little fantasy world. Every time someone uses it, I can better grasp the principles at play here. But I must say, that bra you're holding certainly muddies things up a bit. Still, a lot of testing needs to be done." Upstairs, Mrs. Hanson slammed a door. Mr. Hanson screamed that she could go to hell, and then Mike heard frantic footsteps racing along the stairway outside the door. "She usually leaves every night at one point or another," Chamberlain said. "She'll be back, so. Do you want a repeat performance tomorrow evening, Mr. Cooper? Are you game? Willing to try this out again?" "I'll be here," Mike said. "Count on it." I hope you enjoyed this story. More intimate confessions are waiting in the private archive linked in the description. Subscribe for the next story.